It was after 20 years with Laban that Jacob met the angel at the ford. And so let me lay some groundwork here. Oh, before I get started, I have a message for a certain white-bearded fellow. Do you know that a certain redhead lady, sir, asked me to help her and her husband find a matching candidate for their daughter? See, what had happened was the daughter was enamored with Love and Life Ministries and Engine. But once Engine threw everything into the wildest tailspin, one of the wildest tailspins that the movement had ever seen with her scandal, this couple's young daughter was broken. So she said, screw it. And eventually she started laying with so-called outside men, gave up her purity, and she developed a thing for black guys. And you know what they say? Once you go black. So what happened was, this young lady agreed to come back into the blessing realm on the condition that the parents help her find somebody who's black, because that's what she developed a thing for. Well, don't you know that certain redhead lady asked me, probably, I think because I'm black, to help her get her daughter matched, to help her find a candidate for her daughter. That same redhead, only a year later, that couple was working against a matching involving my daughter. So just the I don't know, the irony, the hypocrisy. That's amazing. That is amazing. That couple who asked me to help match their kid worked against the matching that pretty much would have been okay, I suppose. I just made mental note of that. But I'd like to tell you, one of the things that animates a part of my life the way I live, it occurred to me that restoration being over means that we have to examine what is restoration so that we can put it away. The principle says that the standard of good and evil changes when the era changes, so that a new standard of good arises and the old standard of good can become relative evil. So if you don't understand what restoration is, my father said people didn't understand indemnity. It's very hard for people to understand the nature of indemnity. If you don't understand what restoration is, you can't ignore the imperatives from the restoration era, because you don't distinguish that those imperatives are locked in with that age. And so when you're not in that age anymore, you're still listening to a pseudo-conscience, the conscience of the restoration age, as if it were the conscience according to the merit of the current age, the new age. So what is restoration? Restoration is an act of separating from Satan that happens in two areas. One, the foundation of faith, and the foundation of substance. They're both, the common denominator is both forms of separating from Satan. So when you put an offering on the altar and create a foundation of faith, you make an offering. You do it according to the numbers that God created by, so that it's pleasing to God, so that it signifies something according to the principle. And you do it because Satan couldn't offer, he couldn't complete his role, and he couldn't continue following along the principal path. So when you complete an offering, that is the foundation of faith, and you are separating from Satan because you're doing something that he refuses to do. So once you are in a location spiritually that Satan refuses to be in, you've separated from him because he doesn't want to go to that place. He doesn't want to make offerings to God, so he doesn't want to be anywhere near you as you make an offering with a fragrance that's pleasing to God. Foundation of faith. Foundation of faith requires a responsible person, a required offering, and in time, providential numbers. Foundation of substance is also a form of separating from Satan, because you are going to treat human beings, a difficult human being, the way God would, and you're going to not treat them the way Satan would. If Satan was in your shoes, Satan would have you treat that person a certain way, and by not treating that person that way, you will be separated from Satan. The best way to approach this is the idea that everybody's your able figure, so that you treat everybody like they're an honored person to learn from, and so forth and so on. But you're mandated to give all things to Cain and demonstrate an abnormal amount of self-sacrifice. Jacob giving everything he owned to any one human being is not normal. It is above and beyond. And the purpose was to melt the heart of Esau, who was suffering from various forms of lack of love, lack of significance, lack of feeling, lack of respect. And he sort of cured that problem in Esau. And we saw the first natural surrender in biblical history. So the purpose of, practicing giving all things to Cain is the idea that you're trying to engineer as much as you can. It's not your responsibility, it's Cain's responsibility, but you're trying to help him surrender. You're trying to bring Cain to the point where he surrenders. Now, that's called the foundation of substance. If you can actually hold the line and do this, Satan separates from Cain. Because Satan, if Satan were in the Cain position, would want to kill you. And so when he doesn't kill you, Satan is separated from him. Okay? So these are both forms of separation from Satan, foundation of faith and foundation of substance. Before you can be embraced by the Messiah, you have to do foundation of faith and foundation of substance so that Satan doesn't have a claim. And his claim would sound like this: this is my child, you can't give him your blessing. So God and God's champion can't give Satan's child the blessing that God and his champion want to give, because Satan says you don't have the right to. And God and the Messiah, God and the John the Baptist version of Father respected that, and so you had to do your own 7-year formula course signifying foundation of faith and substance. You had to engineer your own space away from Satan so that Father could bless you. But when restoration was over, Father could bless people based on what's called the prerogative of the true parents, and that means they could bless anybody, because Satan relinquished his claim on humanity when the Berlin Wall came down. When Kim Il-sung and Gorbachev embraced Father, it was the surrender, and an acknowledgement that Father is the true parent. So Father proclaimed true parents, and he exited his John the Baptist role. And a lot of people don't realize that Reverend Moon was in a John the Baptist role, because when he returns, the Lord, if he's rejected, will have to assume the role of John the Baptist. And that's what he did. And that's why he raised up a third Israel who could redo what the second Israel failed to do. And this is why the third Israel has problems with the fourth Adam. Okay. And this is why Father started teaching and decentralizing after he had the ability to exercise the prerogative of the true parent. If you don't recognize that Father fundamentally changed the nature of the way he interacts with people in the world after the surrender of world level Cain, then you're out to lunch. You missed it. You were probably working like a busy bee so hard you didn't notice that it changed, but the season changed. Okay? Nobody recognizes when it changes exactly from day to night, night to day, or spring to summer, or winter to spring, but it happened. If you wanted to get close to the exact moment, it would be the moment that Father walked out of these two palaces, one in Moscow, one in North Korea, and Pyongyang, and he's not killed. He's not killed. So now he has the condition to teach what he's dying to teach. Now he has the condition to liberate, which puts humanity in an even better situation than in 1945. You thought joining the unification movement was one of the greatest things. When every time you have testimony night, you always think, oh, let me give a testimony of how I joined the church. No, the whole movement should be a testimony of rebirth. So what it was like getting the blessing, and even better than that, what it was like having realizations about the 3-day ceremony. Because that is the moment that you as a man, especially men, go from being archangel to being son of God. And you should have testimonies about that. But we don't have that culture. We don't have that culture. We have a archangel culture when we join the hierarchy. We give testimonies about when we join the hierarchy. Anyway, so if you're in the era where you're not to give, where the debt's been paid and you don't have this restoration debt anymore because true parents paid it all, and they're saying, oh, you don't have to listen to that angel saying you have to pay this debt. So if this angel is saying, yeah, you have to give all things to Cain in order to move Cain's heart, you still have to get this natural surrender. You should be looking for this natural surrender. He's lying to you, because you're not supposed to be looking for a natural surrender for the purpose of this type of historical restoration, because that's been paid. You might still want to learn how to love people, but you're not blocked by his inabilities to surrender. Historically, God's champion and God's providence was blocked if Cain had an inability to surrender. There was nothing to be done about that. But now, if a so difficult person doesn't want to surrender, you do not have to sit there and throw your property at this person hoping to get this natural surrender. In this era, if that crafty devil through Cain can get you to send yourself back to poverty by giving everything to Cain, well, he'll use your ignorance of the fact that the age has changed to make you poor, to make you focus on the whims of some Cain. And this is a term that I created to try to understand. There's a difference between the reachable Cain of the Restoration era and the unreachable Cain. The Cain you cannot bring the natural surrender, no matter how much you give to him. The unreachable Cain in the post-Restoration era. If you keep serving the unreachable Cain, he will take all your stuff, the stuff that you inherited even from God, even from Father. He'll find a way to accuse you and take it all back. You have to recognize that there's no accusation anymore. And this is why Father said in that speaking tour where he was going around with the war veterans, the Korean war veterans. This is in 2010 in the Manhattan Center. And you know how Father has these prepared remarks. So you'll have to catch the video. Somebody put it up on the internet. I haven't seen it in quite a few months. But, you know, Father breaks away from his prepared remarks and he gives some kind of deeper understanding. So when he was talking about the 5 points that humanity has to remember, one of them was to understand, you have to understand that restoration is over. And then he broke away from his speech and he was like saying, people who don't understand this are allowing Satan to continue to act. In other words, you're funding Satan because you think you still have to bring natural surrender through being nice to Cain. So you're actually giving everything Father fought for you to be encouraged that you're an inheritor. You're giving them back to Cain. And Satan has figured out that through the guilt that you feel for not having one Cain's heart, you'll keep trying. And all he has to do is to keep accusing you. So you stay in a state of accusation. So you stay in a state of not moving forward to what you need to move forward to. And we can understand this tactic because this is what the Democrats are doing to Trump. Frivolous complaints and the specter of Trump's guilt are what people focus on, with the accusation of Russia collusion, with the accusation of Ukraine collusion, right? With the accusation that something impeachable was done, finally. They never let go of the opportunity to accuse Trump. And so, can Trump release himself? If they keep coming up with one more way to accuse, can you stop them? Can you block their creativity? No, they're humans. Humans can employ their creativity for a great many evils, if they so choose. And capturing your mind with guilt is a way that people who don't have anything cause people who do have something to cough it up. And so what do? You have to stop having give and take with Satan. In other words, you have to get to the point where these claims that you're not loving enough don't matter. You don't entertain them. Okay. Now, why am I saying this? Because back in 2015, I had learned this lesson before 2015. When I went out online and Hyung-Jin made the remark, did you see what Jamal said? This was like the spark of Hyung-Jin endorsing the way I fight online. Because the way I fought was where I don't accept guilt trips. If somebody says something stupid, I'm not guilt tripped into saying, oh yeah, that's a good point, that's a good point. I don't feel guilt tripped. If there are holes in what they said, other people will be like, don't embarrass him, oh, you're so rough, oh, you're so mean. No, if we are talking about the truth, and your ultimate goal is to thwart something that I'm doing, I'm not obliged to act like your half-truth is full truth, or your made-up claim is actually the truth itself. You'd like me to respect you. It's some kind of respect that I'd respect you like that. But if it's not actually the truth, and I poke holes in it, in the long run, when you have to go study, that's a good thing for you. And when I don't have to participate while the whole peanut gallery is watching you speak half-truths, I don't have to participate in signing off as if what you said was valid enough, clear enough, or true enough for what it is that we're trying to do. I don't have to do that. If I go, no, what you miss is A, B, and C, and that embarrasses you, especially being a blessed person, you should be able to get over it. Because you shouldn't be suffering from lack of love. Because True Father gave you a spouse, the greatest love that any person could ever get. You shouldn't be, triggered because I augmented your comments to make them more true. And no. Do I think, you would say to me, do you think you're the only person that knows the truth? No, it doesn't matter. I know the truth that I know. So if I know that you said something that's got a lot of holes in it, I want to augment it and make it more clear. So there's nothing wrong with that. It makes you feel bad, so you want to accuse me into feeling like me doing that is some kind of wrong. But I don't buy it. So family Fed members would try to guilt me into saying that Hyungjin's wrong for calling his mother out. And the way I would defend Hyungjin is saying he's not obligated to be so nice to her that he acts like some half-truth that she put out there is totally true. He's not obligated. You're telling him that he has to give all things to Cain, that he has to seek a natural surrender in an era where he doesn't have to do that. All you'd be doing would be stopping him or coaxing him or tempting him into stopping the flow of sharp truth into the conversation. For what? Because when Cain is embarrassed, he's going to kill? No, Cain doesn't even have the condition to kill. So once Cain kills, Cain's going to get hit by heaven. So he doesn't have the condition. He's not in the position of owner. His father's not in the position of owner. Okay, anyway. This explained the way I fight. You have to imagine out that I don't take guilt trips. I don't feel obligated to quote unquote be nice in the way that look, you have homosexuals saying that we're not nice. There's not a lot of cases of gay bashing, okay? There's way more cases of black on black crime than so-called hate crimes. You know, but if you're going to honor every claim that you've hurt them, they're just going to come up with creative different ways that they can say that they were offended. And then you'll have to let them have their way, because you will accept that you've done something wrong. Now, if I'm Cain and I figured out that all I have to do is say that you hurt me to get you to change your behavior, I've got a lot of control over you. But I lose that control once you realize that me making frivolous claims doesn't matter. It's not real. Well, I figured that out. I figured that out sometime before Hyungjin came to Pennsylvania. And that's why I was able to fight that way. Now, some people mistake and think that that I'm championing the idea that it's okay to be mean. I wasn't unloving. I'm desperate for my brothers and sisters to deal with the truth, not to deal with their politics. You know, so in the process of doing this, I met quite a few people. I met one guy. Well, I met a woman who wanted to sort of like force me, like in order to get her off my back, in order to get her to stop interfering in my threads, I would have had to obey her. I would have had to stop treating people the way that I was treating them. And I was treating them the way I was treating them for a reason. I wanted to discourage these people from thinking that guilt tripping me was the issue. Okay? That you can't guilt trip me, let's stick to the truth. Okay? If you lack awareness of certain pieces of truth and it makes you feel naked or embarrassed, that's your problem. I'm not obligated to clothe you or pretend that you have more clothes, that you're clothed with a sound grasp of truth. So she tried to get me to stop giving people this feeling. And we're talking about serious matters. We're talking about the future generations inheriting a book that didn't stem from Father's heart. We are talking about the matter of disrespecting the physical children of Father in such a way that you're going to create some kind of supreme council out of your political lust. And especially the son that Father wanted to bequeath his organization to, you're just going to run right through Father's will. You're just going to run right through Father's will. So, yes, I was trying to help Hyungjin, but I was trying to mostly help Father have his way. Because at that time, what had Hyungjin done? I know that he had a fundamental misunderstanding about the nature of true mother, and I tried for a year to talk to him about that, but I was willing to overlook that to give him some kind of assistance in another area. You know, if you can't get movement in one area, why don't we talk about something else? So I decided to talk about some of the other issues, you know, and stop badgering him, because I was badgering him for a year because I still feel that he doesn't understand what true mother means to fallen people, because he wasn't a fallen person and he didn't need her the way we do. Anyway, so this is why I'm so-called rough. You hear that, Richard? You don't believe in theology, so this means absolutely nothing to you. Everything that I said about restoration and it being over, I'm sure that what you said to me in Dunkin' Donuts, it went in one ear and out the other, because the only thing that matters to you is where the people move, right? The politics. You said theology is just another form of politics. So, but it's unfortunate that you're the one telling me about rough language and cursing and this kind of thing, and you don't even listen to what I'm saying about why I use those tactics. So you're already ignoring me, so I'm pretty okay with ignoring how you feel about it as well. Anyway, so I'm getting to a point where I want to talk about a couple of figures that they needed something rough in their life. And the first one